Today's sponsor is Into the AM, but more about those cuties later on. YOLO! Welcome back to J-ROYL, the best smelling channel on YouTube, here with another Top 6 Sunday. So I already went through the top 6 fragrances that I'm most looking forward to wearing this fall, but now fall is kind of coming to a close, so I want to tell you guys which fragrances I actually wore this season. I always find it interesting to revisit the lists that I put out earlier on, just to hold myself accountable. Am I actually doing a good job at predicting my own taste in the future? Being a Top 6 Sunday, I've assembled the 6 fragrances that I wore the most the last month and a half or 2 months. There's a couple from my anticipated list, but not all of them, so let's go through them together. Number 6 is an old favorite that I haven't talked about in a little while. Tom Ford Noir Extreme. The kulfi dessert gourmand fragrance. Sweet, spicy, beautiful, beautiful gourmand. If you don't know what that means, it just means yummy deliciousness. And that's what this is. It's a masculine fragrance in the sense that it's marketed to men. You can tell by the bottle design, but it's fairly unisex feeling. I could easily see a woman wearing this and being really cool wearing it. I like to describe this fragrance as being a polite gourmand. So it's strong and sweet and has really good longevity, but it doesn't push out too much. It's not crazy obnoxious, which is really good if you're in close quarters and you're mingling with someone and you don't want to be that guy that just stinks. The only drawback here that I can think of is currently you would only be able to be smelt by people in your personal bubble. You're not gonna smell this through a mask. So that's kind of a buzzkill. But I love this one. It never feels like too much, and it just feels like a good decision whenever I put it on. Number 5 is gonna be a bit of deja vu. It's the same designer, although it's not really a designer priced fragrance. My friend calls it Oud Wood because he's an idiot, but it's called Oud Wood by Tom Ford. Clean, modern, sparkling oud fragrance that's really wearable. I talked about it in a previous video, and ever since I did, I was reminded why I like this fragrance so much. And I really ate into the level of the juice because I wore it quite a few times. Didn't really get any compliments or any great feedback while wearing it, but like a lot of the fragrances that I wear, it's for me, okay? It's all about me. I want to express myself. I want to enjoy the experience wearing them. This does that for me. But it's still very classy, and it will make you stand out from the rest of the peoples. I think I wore this one 3 times, so not a crazy amount, but more than 99% of the fragrances in my collection. So that's why it's here. If I could just take a second of your time, just 1 second, maybe 30. If you guys like my hat and my shirt, I got them from Into the AM. They're a clothing company based in California. I've talked about them before. I really like this graphic tee action I'm wearing right now. They don't just make plain t-shirts. And if you're liking the look of this stuff as well, I'm gonna put the discount code as usual in the description so you can take advantage of those slashed prices because we can all afford to spend less money. My next most worn fragrance of this season is actually my scent of the day. It's Joe Malone's Myrrh and Tonka Cologne Intense. The British fragrance house that has a lot of lighter fragrances, and they love to just feature like 2 notes most prominently and kind of keep it simplistic. But this one is a little bit more than just kind of churchy myrrh and sweet tonka bean. I always describe it as having this kind of semi-fresh opening. You would think it would just be a very heavy fragrance, but it almost has a soapy quality, like as if these 2 notes were put into a really luxurious soap. It sort of has that feel. As a matter of fact, if I didn't already know this fragrance was so good and I first tried it on and had no preconceived notions about what it smelled like, I might just kind of pass over it. I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's all right. It's kind of sweet and a bit sharp and okay, interesting. And then I might move on. But it's the dry down, or at least the late opening and mid, that really makes this fragrance so captivating. Absolutely, women and men can wear it. It's not a compliment getting fragrance, I would say. And if you are a woman or a womanly man, this I feel would go with someone who's a little more avant-garde maybe, wears a lot of black, grayscale stuff. It just sort of has that aesthetic to it. To me, that's to me. What do I know about fashion? Clearly a lot. My third most worn fragrance of this season is a new fragrance that was sent to me by a fellow reviewer who owns this company, It's Gravitas pour Homme. I wore this one about 5 or 6 times, basically made it my scent of the week. And I must say, especially for a first attempt at a fragrance from a house, it's a fantastic take on a classic men's fragrance, but modernized a little bit. As a matter of fact, I was surprised how modern smelling it is, which is good because I do have a lot of youthful, juvenile little boy fragrances that I like to rock from time to time. Hashtag fierce. But I also like to be a little more sophisticated once in a while. This kind of does both, which is interesting. It's one of the first fragrances that really does a good job at sort of doing both things at the same time. If I were to say one thing, it would be that I kind of wanted it to be more old school, a little more mature, those classy macho fragrances, but this still has that in there as well. So I guess that's what makes it more open-ended and versatile. Needless to say, I really enjoy wearing this. Very impressed with the presentation. It's very classy. And hey, a hell of a lot better than I could ever do making a fragrance. My number 2 most worn fragrance on this list, in terms of overall enjoyment, I would argue that this is my favorite fragrance by quite a big margin, even though I wore my number 1 more, technically. The Toronto-based company, Zoologist B. B is the bee's knees. How many times have I used that joke? It's not even good. This is, dare I say, a masterpiece. As a piece of smelly art, this is up there in my collection. It's really, really grown on me over time. It comes from a groundbreaking, extremely creative fragrance house that is not afraid to sort of push the boundaries, which is an amazing thing in fragrances. With so many followers, with so many copycats, Zoologist just seems to really kill it. In fact, there's a couple more that I'm eyeing this year, even though I said I'm not gonna buy any more. I think I might have to sell a few fragrances just so I can get Squid. Love that one. From start to finish, there's not an ounce of, I don't know about that, or, oh, it's a bit too much alcohol. No, it's an incredible fragrance from start to finish. The way it's composed, the beautiful use of a naturally occurring honey, like honeycomb, that waxiness, the floral aspect. It's a dream to wear. Its performance is incredible. If you haven't tried B and you like honey and you like good fragrances and you like to smell unique, get a sample at the least, please, okay? Do it for yourself. You owe it to yourself, Royal fan. That being said, if you're used to Invictus and 1 Million and Sauvage and you just want compliments and you don't really care about how you think you smell, then maybe not. But for everyone else, I know there's a lot of you watching, the artistry of perfumery, here it is right here, B. But I wore one fragrance a little bit more. There was a time where Amouage Memoir Man was my fall king. And I think that still might be the case, especially on those cooler fall days. But for whatever reason, I've been experiencing warmer fall days this year, which is why I leaned on a house that is more famous for their fresher fragrances for the warmer weather. My number 1 most worn fall fragrance is now my king of fall fragrances. It's unique, it's different, it's not talked about too much, especially amongst this house, considering it's the unwanted stepbrother of the king of fragrances. Of course you guys know it, guys. Come on, guys. Guys! My number 1 most worn fragrance in fall is Taboo Millésime. It has it all, okay? It has that little bit of spiciness, the ginger, the tobacco. It has everything roped into one. And the best part is, it has the wearability of most creeds, but it's unique. It has uniqueness, it's not heavily cloned, it has great performance, and it has that level of exclusivity that you want in a fragrance. If you're spending money on something expensive, you wanna be like one of the only guys that's wearing it. And now maybe a lot more people are gonna be wearing it because I keep mentioning it, but it's really good. No, it's not as accessible as like a Virgin Island water, coconut, tanning lotion type of thing, mojito, drinky drinks. It's so much more than that. It has its own identity. It does its own thing, and I do my own thing too. This is just my opinion after all, right guys? These are just the fragrances I wore this fall. So tell me which fragrances you wore this fall, and we'll have to see what I wear this winter. This year flew by, guys. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Okay, bye.